guys, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today here we are with Arcsuit Lance at 6RAX 4 out of 5 actually, with the EX roll unlocked. Cracked character, man. Honestly, like, I really enjoy using Steven and Cynthia, but in terms of like just, I'm not gonna say how much fun I have with the character, but like just, I guess the cohesion, I guess is the word for it. Just kind of how like smooth the gameplay is when I'm using this guy. I love using this character probably the most. Lance is nuts. Just outright. With the EX roll, of course, in level 150, he gained up to over 400 attack and special attack, which is definitely good, obviously. Like, he does need that buff, or he really can afford that buff. He gets 268 in both defenses, 871 health, good stats all around. Obviously, his base kit stuff stays the same with Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, the Nuclear Buddy move, all of that stuff. But the grid is obviously, you know, the big kicker with these investments. And that's why I invested to 4 out of 5 instead of 3 out of 5, because he gets Relentless. Now, a lot of the stuff I showcase in this video can be done without the without fortified investment. I did a Tornadus solo, I did a battle versus Palmer, and I did a damage cap on the Buddy Hyper Beam. None of that needs Relentless. But in terms of if you really want to get the most out of this character, nuking with him for Relentless damage is really, I guess I could say crucial. I don't know if that's the word to use, but I'll say it. And then again, everything else that he gets at the 3 out of 5 investment, which is again why I invested in him at 4 out of 5, because that nuke is really what he gains. So he gets Relentless, which gives him total 200% in nuking multipliers. Oh my god, 517 base power. I love that. Oh my gosh. And then he also has sync nodes, right? He's got 4 plus 25 power sync nodes, and then a plus 50 base power sync node here, which, since you're able to pick up three of them and then the plus 51 for free very easily, that's giving him what, 125 extra power. So he's got 617 basically, or sorry, 630 something rather in actual damage on his sync nuke and base power, and then again 200% multipliers on top of that. That's nuts, for sure. Oh my god. Other than that, he's got Insult to Injury, which is a 30% multiplier for his damage when enemy's defense is debuffed. It really helps out his buddy move in terms of damage. Like, it gets stupidly high with that extra multiplier, on top of having Critical Strike too. And then he gains some other stuff like Sync move, physical and special boost here, giving him physical and special moves next after using his Sync move. He's got Vigilance for a lucky skill, or sorry, just a base passive skill, so you don't have to, you know, afford to try and run something else as a lucky skill. Maybe if you need crit protection, he's got it right here, and you will be pretty much always picking it up because it is, you know, just cheaper to pick up than going another route to get these 2 tiles here. So Vigilance is just the cheapest route. That's nice. He's also got Hit, Flinch, and Paralysis 2 here, which is of course good for Legendary and is mostly, I wouldn't say it's fantastic really anywhere else, but you could, there's probably going to be people who are going to want to be fishing for 30% flinches in like the high score event and whatnot. So there is that to consider. And then he's got some other things as well, like, you know, the guaranteed crits down here, which isn't that valuable to me, but you could probably make it work. And then he's got Recuperation, which I never did actually find too much amazing usage out of because of how my Tornadus solo went, but I'm sure there are battles where legitimately this tile is helpful to have. So yeah, that's nice. Anyway, whatever. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lance here. The battles I have lined up are 2 ultimate battles, one versus Giovanni and the other versus Palmer, and then I have a damage challenge cap, Hyper Beam battle, and a Tornadus solo. So let's go ahead and hop into those. So when going for the damage cap on Lance's buddy move, I went ahead and chose this setup. Lucas would be better technically because he applies an extra 10% to Lance's arc passive, but if you're going to hit the damage cap anyway, it doesn't matter. So we got Red for Sync Acceleration and Super Effective next. I had a pretty big issue actually trying to get to the damage cap with this move, not because it was difficult itself, but because Lance would do too much damage. So you have to purposefully, obviously, you know, hold yourself back if you're going for the damage cap. Of course, like, if you're trying to just effectively clear the stage, it doesn't matter, right? You can go for Trainer move, Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, Hyper Beam the sides, nuke the middle, and if the middle is somehow still alive, you can go for the buddy move, right? Sure, you're done. They're dead. It doesn't really matter that much. But if you want to go for the cap on the move itself and just have fun with that, then you have to play around with it a little bit more. So that's why I mostly held off on using the trainer move until later in the battle, and I'm obviously not playing super efficiently. Again, if you want to play efficiently, just pretty much put the game on auto mode, and it'll kind of do it for you. I'm not kidding. I'm sure Lance could do this on auto mode if he wanted to, with appropriate partners. Anyway, whatever. I think we're going for Lance's Sync Nuke next so we can get the Dragon rebuff in here. This is in total -6 on the defenses, -2 Dragon rebuff. Technically 5 Sync buffs because Rosa and Red, and then also Lance's for the rebuff. I think that's it, and it's also super effective next. Super effective next and plus 10 special moves up next, right? That's the big thing, is the special moves up next ramping, is that you can, with Lance being a physical and special damage dealer, you can very effectively stack up special moves up next with any character, i.e. Champion Rosa, right? Who can buff both physical and special moves up next, and it's very, very effective for being able to get high-powered attacks very, very quickly. So I honestly love that. It's so funny. Queued up late with the potion there, so Rosa ends up dying, but it doesn't even matter. We go for Red Sync Nuke here. This gives us 5 Sync buffs, and then we go for the Hyper Beam. Oh boy. The one thing that I do want to mention is that Lance does have a higher ceiling in terms of how high his buddy move can go in damage, I'm quite certain. But, in my opinion, the setup with it is a lot harder to manage. There's 99,999 anyway. I do think the setup is a lot harder to manage that. Like, you have to have the defenses down, you have to have the rebuffs, a certain number of special moves up next buffs, and then you also have to consider the team, right? You have to run, like, Rosa and Lucas and Nate or something like that. You know, there's less fluidity in the team than, like, Ash, Red, and Champion Blue, where you're generally using that buddy move, right? So, in a sense, Lance does have a higher ceiling, but in my opinion, it's either harder to set up or less effective to set it up that way. But realistically, if you're just going for, like, the win, just being able to, like, optimize it a little bit is going to be enough, because the move is still very, very nuclear and is easily like, if you're not setting it up optimally, then it's still, like, the second highest move in the game, if not outright still competing with the Buddy Thunderbolt. So, yeah, no worries there for sure. Alright, here we are for the Giovanni Ultimate Battle. This is actually my first time beating this Ultimate Battle, because, not because I couldn't before. I've got Constantine and I've got Akari, so pretty brainless there, but I just never bothered with it, didn't really care. Still haven't beaten Nolan, who I can also beat, Nita, I could beat her for sure, just still haven't bothered. Anyway, whatever, not really the point. So, Giovanni's Ultimate Battle main gimmicks are, of course, the fact that he buffs his stats a shitload, and he does a lot of damage when his stats are raised, and he also needs a field effect in order to actually take damage. So Lance being able to debuff the stats as effectively as he does definitely mitigates that a little bit, right? You know, deactivates, like, good form and Rising Tide and all that stuff, which is great. But also, we had to bring Steven for offensive debuffs, which still didn't end up doing too much, but it's fine anyway. It's fine. Everything's on fire, but it's fine. Steven was here for the flinches and also for the sync moves up next and the physical moves up next for the gig impacts, all that good stuff, right? Steven applies a lot. Also, he applies AoE defensive debuffs so that we don't have to worry about trying to debuff everything with Lance, at least not early on, so that is nice there too. And there's definitely a better, more effective way to do this. Like, there is no doubt about that in my mind. It's just my brain doesn't work. I've used that excuse a lot, that I'm not really the smartest person, but hey, I end up getting the win with it, whether it be by accident or not, so I'm not really going to be that upset about it. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, we didn't end up getting the propulsion with Lucas, which I did grid Lucas for the Sync Nuke, but I also did grid him for, like, propulsion and stuff, so I did want to potentially be able to clutch out with that. I think I gridded Lucas with that anyway. I forget which grid I used, now that I've actually done it. Whatever. We end up going for Lance's Sync move here. I tried to maximize it as much as possible because, I mean, Steven was already going to get his Team Trash Tank activated, which was going to make Giovanni queue up the Sync move anyway, so I just opted to use his buddy move before Lance Sync so he would get the extra damage in. 120,000 my god. 120-some thousand damage there, by the way. Very, very strong, obviously. Hits Giovanni's endurance, but oh well. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Lucas almost dies. Poor Lucas. Wasn't actually too requiring on potions here, frankly. That's awesome. Now that I look at it. Anyway, whatever. We're able to get a lot of physical moves up next, enhancement from Steven, and again, it's similar to that case of, like, Rosa, where you're able to stack up a lot of moves up next by using the other type of move. In this case, we use the Hyper Beam a lot, so we're able to stack up the physical moves up next on Giga Impact. Got a very lucky flinch there on the Side Strike, which is very crucial. We get Lucas' Sync move in because I do have Lucas at with the EX roll, so this gives us 5 Sync buffs. Very, very nice. And we do have to make sure Steven's actually surviving these attacks. He does have endurance, but oh boy. It's fine. And I know earlier on in the battle I focused on debuffing the side, not debuffing, damaging the sides so we wouldn't have to worry about them later on, because this is where we pretty much get to the point where we can start nuking start nuking Giovanni with Lance's Hyper Beam and his Sync move back to back. 41,000 damage there, not too shabby on the Hyper Beams. Like, this damage is very good, right? Max defensive debuffs and, max multiplier activation and all of that, 5 Sync buffs, but still 40,000 some damage on regular Hyper Beam is crazy. Then we get the Buddy move for 187,000 damage. And I kind of wasted Lance's Sync move at this point as well, because this hits like a truck. This hits like a truck, man. Look how hard this hits. This is with the extra rebuff, of course, so extra 20% multiplier, the extra sync buffs and all of that as well. Yeah, 243,000 damage. That's why I say getting relentless was very, very good for us here. So just keep all of that stuff in mind. Anyway, whatever. They end up going down to the Hyper Beam, 59,000 damage from Lance there because of the special moves up next buff after using his sync move, and then... yeah, here's the Giga Impact as well, with obviously there's no field effect, but it doesn't even matter at this point. Plus 7 moves up next and 25,000 damage, even, again, when their defenses are tripled because there is no field effect. That setup, of course, did require, like, NPR with Lucas's Dragon Zone and whatnot, but still, that was really good. Even, like, we pretty much just ignored Giovanni's mechanic of buffing all of his stats because we debuffed them so fast in terms of the defenses, and honestly, the offensive buffs didn't... I want to say the offensive debuffs didn't matter, but I'd say they did, because if Lucas didn't survive that one AoE attack, it would have been, not good. So, hey, whatever, we'll take it, man. That was very fun. I can't really explain too well about all the mechanics of that battle, because, I got pretty lucky, frankly, with some of my flinches. Those really saved, like, my misplays and whatnot, and I'm not really the greatest in terms of planning that stuff out. But still, point being... a lot of damage, a lot of debuffs, Giovanni no like. That's about where you're at. And of course, big PP nuke and Hyper Beam, so yeah. Alright, so the battle with Palmer here. I'm not gonna say this is like the best moment in the game that I've had, but this is probably one of the most jaw-dropping. I don't have Ash, so clearly not exactly accustomed to these big, high-powered nuking characters that can put out a couple 100,000 offensive stat with their move. But Lance did absolutely crazy here in the setup with Champion Rosa and Nate. Again, Lance obviously benefits a lot from Nate because Nate's got the Circle and the Master Passive that's buffing his physical side attacks, whether that be Giga Impact or the Sync Nuke, right? And also the physical moves next from the Circle as well. And then Rosa, of course, adds to that. Rosa's got the Master Passive. Nate and Rosa are a very good combination for powering up any character. Obviously, on the offensive, the physical side, Lance benefits a lot. And then, of course, Nate's also a dragon, so it buffs Lance's own Arc Passive, so that is also very, very strong. And Rosa, again, as stated with the Sync Nuke maxing video, or whatever, the DPS maxing, whatever, the Hyper Beam, that bit, obviously you can stack up special moves next buffs to get like plus 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 special moves up next with his Hyper Beam and just obliterate anything like in your wake, right? This stage, this mostly just played around like what timing should you use which moves, right? Like, where should you use the Giga Impact for the defensive debuffs? Where should you use the Dark Black Outrages are a big one. Like, it's infinitely better to pretty much save your Outrage for right after you use the support EX, because the physical moves next buffs that you have it's just better to use those when you have the support EX than to use them twice individually without the support EX. At least that's what I figured out when using Nate, so that's mostly all you really had to worry about. And now here we are. We've got... this is going to be plus 6 special moves up next, boosted Hyper Beam, alongside being under Dragon Zone, right? That's one of the big things, too. And then, again, we got ourselves the Dark Black Outrage, plus 5 physical moves up next, boosted. Very, very crazy stuff, right? Like, we love to see Nate. 272,000 damage! Oh my god. And that's with -1 rebuff. Again, like, as I said before, his ceiling's higher than Ash, but of course the setup, like, it has its own problems, right? I should have queued a move with Nate here, because look at this. This is upsetting to me. We get the very cool sync move with Lance, right? We get the nuke, and the nuke should kill. I know the enemy doesn't have any debuffs, but should kill. Didn't crit. Didn't crit, left him on 1%. And everyone besides Nate gets destroyed by that blizzard. Thankfully, Nate lands all of his scale shots, and we get the win. But that could have been a little bit smoother. Just a little bit. If I would have just queued up a move with Nate, man. Whatever. Point is, Lance has amazing burst damage, amazing DPS outright, And it works very well with characters like Champion Rosa and Champion Nate, right? Champion Rosa is probably his single best partner because of her move up next enhancement, and then Nate, of course, with the Dragon Zone and being able to also benefit a lot from Rosa as a partner and benefit from all of the stuff that Lance provides with the Dragon rebuffs and whatnot. Nate's got his top tier striker sync nuke really being put out to full effect here. The only problem is that obviously he only sets Dragon Zone once, so it's only really good for shorter battles like Palmer here, right? But still, it shows a very, very high damage potential in a very short amount of time, and that's really, really, really strong. That Hyper Beam's crazy. Alright, and our final battle here is against the Tornadus Legendary Arena, where Lance is a pretty damn easy solo. My grid is not efficient rather, and obviously you don't really, I don't think you need... Yeah, you definitely don't need this level of investment to do this battle. I do have Relentless, of course, so my sync nuke damage is like really high, but I frankly just don't think it's needed. Just get better luck with the paralysis, and that's really all you need. Because I don't think I paralyzed Tornadus at all. I might be wrong until like the very last bars where you actually like have to paralyze it. I just got a few flinches and that was like it. Which of course it's good, but like, what the hell? And then we just get a ton of flinches here. Like Tornadus, I don't think, I think it hits me like once or twice right in this bar one, but it just didn't matter. There's the paralysis. Okay, so we did end up getting one patch of paralysis there, that's fine. And Tornadus, of course, lives on 1%. We go for the sync nuke here so we can get that dragon rebuff in. This is where, of course, that 200%, sync nuke matters, or not matters, but like makes a bit of a difference. Of course, you can just mitigate it by using Giga Impacts and whatnot, but still, right? Anyway, whatever. The big thing with dealing with Tornadus is that Lance does not require those 30% paralysis procs on either bar 1 or bar 2 because he's got the mixed offenses, right? He's able to hit Tornadus with special attacks easily on bar 1 and physical attacks on bar 2. Paralysis only really matters towards the end where you are unable to crit and you're unable to do any damage whatsoever if Tornadus is not paralyzed, right? And there we use the buddy move as well. Did not do nearly enough damage, but that's fine. Also consider it didn't do, nuclear levels of damage because there's no like rebuff, no zone, no partners, right? So obviously the damage is going to be a lot lower, and of course no support EX either. Yeah, that's one thing just to consider. Yeah, so if I would have just got better luck again, it's a 30% paralysis chance with the node and his grid, but also gives a 30% flinch chance. If I would have just got better luck, then we would be good. But I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter that much as long as Lance doesn't hit himself in confusion every time. I also queued up the Hyper Beam on accident. I should have queued up the sync move. That was my bad entirely. I did have recuperation here gridded, but it didn't matter, frankly. Like, it probably would have just been better to run sync nodes, and I would recommend that for anyone who does not have Relentless on Lance. Just don't run, honestly, yeah, just don't run recuperation. The gradual healing he's got is enough. I don't know why I'm providing a guide for this anyway. It doesn't really matter. There's docs on there anyway. You can figure it out. It's not a hard solo. It's just train a move, spam Hyper Beam bar 1, sync nuke bar 2 into Giga Impacts on bar 2, and then get lucky enough paralysis on the third bar and get like okay flinch luck in between, right? Like the luck is not really that crazy. And also run Antitoxin because it can use Toxic. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's the Arc Suit Lance and Dragonite 4 out of 5 EX rolled showcase. Absolutely crazy character, man. Definitely nuts. That buddy move's insane. The sync nuke gets a lot stronger, and of course his ability to enhance other dragon types is very, very good as well. Did not mean to scroll that, but that's fine. So yeah, absolutely nuts, man. I love this character. Very, very fun. Probably some of the most fun I've had in the anniversary, with a lot of anniversary characters in a while, honestly. This trio was super fun, so... yeah, let me know anything about Arc Suit Lance down in the comments below. And the only thing I think this guy lacks is for one AoE damage, but that can be made up for by a partner. But the fact that his partner is like Champion Nate is not that great. Champion Nate's fine, right? His sync nuke is good. His Dark Black Outrage is good. All of that is good. He only sets Dragon Zone once. That is my problem with Champion Nate as a partner for Lance. If he set it on like the usage of his Universe Circle, I honestly wouldn't really have that much of a problem with him. But alas, whatever. Not really. That's not really the point. So yeah. Lance is great, and if we get any more good dragon partners, he's going to be even greater. So, yeah, let's hope for that. And, yeah, again, I'll see you all later.